Hey guys, just yesterday I watched Joanna at Joanna Reads do her mid-year freakout tag. It was a live video the way she
Love
did it.
the main character, Rydra Wong. There's an amazing female character in a 60s sci-fi book. Like, how often do you get that?
That's awesome.
So,
And I was participating and I actually answered some of these questions. So I figured why not, since I have the answers, just go through them and tell you how my year has been going so far. These are probably reflecting, so I'll take my glasses off and let's jump right into it. So the mid-year freakout tag, I don't do a lot of tags. It's the first one I'm doing this year. Best book so far that I've read in 2024. Well, there's been a lot of five-star reads for me. A ton. It's been an amazing reading year. Difficult to choose. I've talked about Hyperion so much, I don't want to talk about it again. So I will say, and full of Hyperion, both books excellent. I will say my favorite book so far this year has been Wizard and Glass by Stephen King. So this is book 4 in the Dark Tower series. Just a fantastic series that I'm having a lot of fun with. And this book really surprised me because of where it took this story. It took this story back. It took a big step back, slowed things down a little bit, but I enjoyed it. I want to stay in this world for as long as I can, so I didn't mind the fact that there was very little plot progression within the main story, and this was kind of a flashback. It was beautiful. It was romantic. It was intense. It was just a great story, very well written, fabulous characters. So Wizard of Glass, book 4 in the Dark Tower, my favorite book of the year so far. We'll see what's gonna happen by December. Best sequel. Oh my gosh, sequel. Full of Hyperion. Here, I'm not even gonna think twice. Full of Hyperion was incredible. I reread Hyperion just to read Full of Hyperion and have the story fresh in my mind, and that was such a good way to go. If you, on the other hand, have not read Hyperion, I recommend you do so. I think it's a stunning achievement, and if you read Hyperion, do not stop. Pick up Full of Hyperion, go right into it. I think it's a great back-to-back duology. Then you can take a break, as I'm doing right now with Endymion, Rise of Endymion. But yeah, Hyperion, amazing story. Such good writing, such great characters, ideas. It's a science fiction story that puts it all together beautifully, in my opinion. Number 3. A new release you haven't yet read but want to. So on my shelf in Colorado, I'm in New York today, Ministry of Time sits, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. It's got mixed reviews, but this story to me seems really appealing. I think it's got some interesting ideas. I love time travel stories. 11/22/63 for that reason is one of my favorite books. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Number 4 on the list of the Freakout Tag is most anticipated release of the second half of the year. So this is one that's coming soon, but it is coming out in August, which counts as second half of the year, obviously. So the most anticipated release is The Mercy of Gods, but by James S.A. Corey of The Expanse fame. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I heard from people who have already read it, who've read the arc, that it's good, that it's really good. So I'm excited to read this story. I don't know much about it. I only read the first 3 books in The Expanse. It just kind of, I don't know, I need to get back to it. The interest waned with book 3. I thought it was a little bit weaker than book 1, Leviathan Wakes, and book 2. Let me know if I should continue with The Expanse. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Mercy of Gods. I'm wondering what that James S.A. Corey duo can come up with. August 6th, I think, is when the book is coming out. Biggest disappointment so far this year, Babel 17. Delaney's work, maybe one of his most famous books. Dahlgren, maybe another one. Anyway, Empire Star by Delaney, I really enjoyed it. It was weird, it was crazy, it was quirky, it was interesting. The writing was odd, but it worked for me. Babel 17, I got lost. I didn't know what was going on. I kept going back. I don't know, mentally maybe I wasn't in a place to read Delaney. He's not an easy author, I've learned to read. So perhaps I will go back to it when I'm just like more relaxed. It's been a little bit of a crazy year for me, business-wise, work-wise. So yeah, a lot on my mind. And maybe that was not the best book. But yeah, I was a little bit disappointed because I really liked Empire Star. Biggest surprise. Well, I'm taking that as a positive. You could be positively or negatively surprised, but I'm just going to go with that as a positive. So the biggest surprise really was, to me, I mean, I've loved so many books. So the biggest surprise really has been how amazing this year has been for me so far. So many great books that I've read so far. All the Pretty Horses by Cormac McCarthy, as well as The Road. Both of those books affected me greatly. It's just been so much. But the biggest surprise really was how much I'm enjoying Dark Tower series, because I tried Gunslinger years ago and it didn't really work for me, so I put it away. Never continued with the series. I've read a lot of Stephen King. I like Stephen King a lot. He's one of my favorite authors. But for some reason, I just stayed away from Dark Tower, but I'm really loving this series. So that's the biggest surprise, how much I'm loving this whole series being in this world. I haven't had that feeling in quite some time. Okay, what's next? What's next? Favorite new author? Well, Simon Jimenez, I would say, is an author that has surprised me and has become a new favorite. I've only read one of his books, so that's a favorite new author. Vanished Birds, which was his first book, his debut from a few years ago. Now he wrote another book that's very popular. Vanished Birds is a science fiction story. His newer release, Spear Cuts Through Water, is a fantasy. I have not read that. Maybe I will read it at some point, but I'm not rushing into it. But if Simon Jimenez puts out another science fiction book, I'm definitely gonna read it. I think he's a great author. He's got his own voice. He's got a very unique style. Definitely has a fantastic command of the language and just great writing chops. So I think he's gonna be a good one for many, many years to come. And I hope he writes a lot in the SF genre. Newest fictional crush. I don't think I have fictional crushes, not really, but Alejandra from All the Pretty Horses was a fabulous character. I think she was strong, she was interesting. The love affair there was good. I really enjoyed Alejandra. Also,
I would forget the face of my father
if I did not mention Susana Delgado from Wizard and Glass, of course. Susanna, well, there's a great love story in Wizard and Glass. I don't want to give out any spoilers, but it is emotional. It is huge in its implications for what happens later on to our main protagonist in the whole Dark Tower series. But yeah, just fantastic. I really enjoyed that. I was also surprised how in that book there's a lot of explicit sexual content. It was good, I have to say. Yeah, Dark Tower is great, and Susan Delgado and Alejandra from All the Pretty Horses, I suppose, two that you would call crushes, although not really. Favorite new character? My favorite new character would be Clara from Clara and the Sun. Clara is an artificial friend, an artificial intelligence, an android, essentially, a companion for young girl. The story was fantastic. I read the book on a buddy read with Jonathan from Words in Time and Robin from Bookspin. We had a good time doing that, and then we had a great time talking about the book on Jonathan's channel. I was connected to Clara. As long as she was good and happy, I was happy, you know? So the humans were, you know, and I think, Robin, you mentioned this previously, that the humans were, you weren't connecting with them as much. And that was a lost opportunity. If you're interested in finding out a little bit more about Clara and the Sun and our thoughts on that book and thoughts on how the book relates to an adaptation that's coming, I believe, later on this year, yeah, definitely head on over to Jonathan's channel and check out that video. I think it's a great book. It was an interesting book. It was a book that I connected with, and Clara as a character was a great character that I strongly sympathized, strongly connected with, and it was thanks to her that I had such positive thoughts on the book itself. I mean, the book had a lot of interesting things, and I'm reading right now Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go, which is a book that is probably more famous even than Clara and the Sun, and more highly thought of than Clara and the Sun. Ishiguro, of course, won Nobel Prize for Literature for his body of work, and Clara and the Sun was the first book he released after winning the Nobel. So there was a lot of anticipation for it, and maybe some people were disappointed. It was the first Ishiguro that I read, so I really liked it. Now I'm reading Never Let Me Go, and I'm enjoying this one, but I wouldn't say I'm liking this more than Clara and the Sun. Similar level, depending on how the second half of the book goes, that's gonna determine how much how much I'm gonna like it. And just check out this bookmark with the little cat's face. Smiling, definitely smiling. There should be like a smile on one side and a frown on the other. I think that'd be a good bookmark. If you're enjoying the book, you leave the smile out, and if you're hating it, you flip it over and you put a little bit of a frown, or maybe whatever. Anyway, I digress. Where were we? We're doing so good. Oh my God. Favorite new character we did. Book that made you cry. No book has actually made me cry this year. But Clara and the Sun was had an emotional impact on me for sure. As did actually the previous one I talked about, Wizard and Glass, that backstory. Definitely there were moments there that hit me hard. So yeah, those two, I'd have to think if there were any others, but those two would be the closest to kind of have that emotional charge that maybe I came close to shedding a tear. Book that made you happy. Well, Guards by Terry Pratchett. The only book in the Discworld that I've read so far made me happy. Because I've heard and I've read a lot about the Discworld, and I just wasn't sure if it's for me. I didn't think it really is for me. Humor doesn't always work for me in a book setting. But it did work very well. The satirical nature of the book was fantastic. Guards, I had just a great time with it. It was a fabulous kind of an in-between some maybe heavier sci-fi, denser books, just to read something that was really easy, pleasant, fun, and witty, and well-written as well. So it checked all of those boxes. Guards was a lot of fun, and it was my introduction into the Discworld. And from time to time, I'll definitely pick up Discworld books and continue with that journey slowly. No need to rush. Take it easy. Most beautiful book you've bought. So I'm in New York. I have a lot of new books in Colorado, but I just picked this one up, and I think it's quite stunning. So I believe this is first edition of Stephen King's Dumaki. And I don't know if you can really tell here how beautiful this book is. I think the cover is stunning. The way the light reflects of the words. Of course, they're embossed. Just a beautiful cover. I was really happy to get this book for like $10. First edition, super nice condition as well. Hello, Stephen King. And guess what? I have not read Dumaki. Let me know if you have. Let me know if it's good. Yeah, but I'm very happy to have this, put it on my shelf. I don't know if I'll get to it this year. I might, who knows? I definitely want to read more Stephen King. I gotta finish The Dark Tower, so that's there's gonna be like 3 more Stephen King books this year, so we'll see if I get to this one. I also want to reread Salem's Lot, possibly before book 5. Someone talked about that as being a smart way to go. I want to say it was Tom Orange. I could be wrong. Sorry, Tom, if I'm making that mistake, but I think I'm not. Yeah, so maybe because Salem's Lot I read many years ago, and I don't remember much, but yeah, maybe I'll read that before I read book 5 in The Dark Tower, because there's a character from Salem's Lot who makes an appearance in book 5. So that's very intriguing. So yeah, that may happen. Also, I wanted to read Needful Things, because I think I read it a long time ago, before my English was at any decent level, and I was really learning English by reading books. I think the first Stephen King book that I read was The Stand, and believe me, my English was not great back then. I have reread The Stand, of course, since. I'll need to do the same with Salem's Lot and Needful Things. But Dumaki will be read as well. So that's the most beautiful book I read that I have here with me in New York. What book's next one? What book do you need to read by the end of the year? The last question, what book do you need to read by the end of the year? So I don't play that game like need. I mean, this channel is for me to enjoy, connect with people, but I don't have firm guidelines for myself. I'm definitely a mood reader. I'll make a list and then put a X right through it if I need to. So there's really nothing that I necessarily need to read, but I definitely want to finish The Dark Tower. There are a lot of books that I talked maybe in my previous video, if you caught it, like Neuromancer, that I've never read, that I would like to read soon. Do I need to read it right now? No, of course not. Book of the New Sun, another one in the same vein. I also definitely want to continue with Dan Simmons. There are a few books, of course, his science fiction epic with Hyperion, I need to read Endymion, Rise of Endymion, book 3 and book 4. I also want to read some of his books that are outside SF. He's written a lot. Dan Simmons, is a very interesting author. I want to read The Terror. I want to read Abominable. There's a horror book that he wrote that I have. I forget the title of it right now. But I definitely want to get to that one. So all these books I'd love to read. I want to read another McCormick. I read, like I said, The Road. I read All the Pretty Horses. I'd like to read No Country for Old Men. So I mean, there's so much. I could go on and on. John Williams. I read Stoner. Augustus has been calling out to me. I want to read that as well. I mean, Sanderson, right? I read the first 2 books in Stormlight Archive. Book 5 is coming out. I thought I would probably by now have read book 3 and book 4 to be ready for the release of book 5. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if it needs to happen necessarily. Like I said, it's all going to depend on how I feel, what I want. So leave a comment. Let me know what your favorite book of the year has been so far. If you enjoyed this video, give a like, please. I would love that. And if you're not a subscriber, but you found this interesting, fun, or whatever, intriguing, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you as one of my subscribers. And it's been a great first 6 months of the year, and I'm even more excited about the second half of the year. And I hope you go on the journey with me. So I'll talk to you next time.